It's very, very special because these go to 11.
Guitar Stories Podcast, your number one show for everything guitar.
Hello, Guitar Geeks. This is Dan.
Hi, everybody. It's Andy.
And this is episode 11 of the Guitar Stories Podcast. Woo!
Woo! Welcome, everybody, to episode 11.
We made it past 10, so we're now deep in double digits already. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. And thanks to all listeners, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally tens of you now. So I'm...
Plus, don't forget the artists that we got on the podcast. So
oh, yeah, sorry.
That might add up to 15 or 20. Huh.
No, genuinely, this podcast has been so well received. And if I can speak for both of us, Dan, we do it for fun. Certainly not for financial gain or world domination. But we have spoken about world domination, and we've decided that it is a good idea. We should attempt it. And therefore, we should maybe try to professionalize the podcast a little and make episodes a little shorter, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's a matter of taste. I personally also prefer long podcasts, but there's a tendency to keep it rather concise and not meander too much around. So, yeah, fully with you. And we have some ideas that would add some magic to the overall podcast.
Yeah, so if you've joined us now, then welcome. If you've been on us from our beginning of our journey, then apologies is for the changes. But you know, it's still gonna be Andy and Dan. It's still gonna be us. We're just gonna try and add some more magic to it, right?
Yeah, a little bit of structure too.
Yes.
But most importantly, we said hi, but how are you? How's life?
Well done. This week I've reached the ripe old age of 39 in the past couple of weeks, and I celebrated this week by having a back injury and ending up on a Sunday night at midnight, totally exhausted. And then my back decided to say, "Okay, we're staying on the floor now for an hour."
Ooh,
and it was the typical middle-aged man back injury.
Yeah. Is that the first time that happened, or is that
no? I've had a slip. Let's go deep into it. I've had a slip disc before. You know, we've all had a couple of those. But I've just got a rather. Let's put it this way: I will no longer be playing Les Pauls.
You own a Maybach Les Paul copy.
I also own a Gibson R8. And an Ibanez. If we're on it, I own an Ibanez from the 70s as well, but that's not left its case for a long, long time. So it might not even be there anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is I've had a week of light gear. So I've been using the Fender GTX amp, which is insanely light. And I've been using another guitar, which I'll talk about later. Keep you, give a little bit of a hint there and keep you hanging on so you don't go anywhere.
Ooh,
I'll just drop my glasses at the same time. And how about you, Dan? I know that we've had a difficult time recently, but how have you been?
Well, I'm okay nowadays. Like you said, I don't want to go too deep into that super personal stuff, but some of my friends and also some listeners of the podcast might have read some of my posts about my mom's passing. So that kind of blew me out of life literally for a couple of weeks. Like probably all of us can imagine if you lose your mom at her age 58. So that was a bummer and really put everything in perspective. And I really mean it like I say it. So it took me a while to get used to that. But I'm super happy that there are people that cheer me up and that there are activities that cheer me up, and that podcast is definitely one of the brightest sides of my life and my hobby in the realms of the guitar. So I'm super happy to spend the night with you and record that podcast together.
And same to you, mate. Genuinely, I have a great time doing this, and also we've got some really great comments coming in from listeners. And some of them are on Angel Vivaldi's podcast from last time. We can't say last week because we took a little hiatus. But last time we had Angel Vivaldi on the podcast. And I wanted to call it a pod then, or a cast. You know, I felt like podcast was too on the cast, on the show. We had Angel Vivaldi on, who is an extraordinary human being in all the most positive ways. He's one of my favorite human beings. And people, thank you for writing and telling me via all the different ways that you've contacted me. But yeah, Angel's a huge personality. But we managed to really get in deep with the business side. I'm trying not to say things like "get in deep" in case Angel's actually listening to this, because he's going to write me and he's going to literally take me to the cleaners on that one. But Angel, there's a lot of personality, a lot of love, a lot of extravagance there. But underneath all that, man, is there a great musician and businessman. So it's not just all fronting, as they say.
It took us like 60 minutes to go into to decrust him and go deeper and just get rid of that kind of sassy ass personality and go really deep into who Angel Vivaldi as a person really is. But I received pretty much the same comments where people said, that episode started pretty, let's say, vibrant or flashy, and but gradually and step by step it went into like a deeper conversation with a lot of interesting topics, and towards the end it was really mind blowing. Like some of the things that he said, and especially the business side of things, they were so deep, and also so good advice from someone who's like a guitar player making a living from what we all consider our favorite hobby or favorite job or whatever. So it's admirable.
Definitely.
So that was great advice. Yeah.
I learned a lot. And if you haven't heard that podcast yet, then of course I am contractually obliged to say, go back and listen to it once this podcast is finished.
Awesome. Well, we can probably go to the next segment that we came up with. It is called the gas moment of the week, Andy.
I want to hear yours first, if I may, because mine might open up a whole line of conversation, and I don't want to just talk at people for ages. So I'd love to hear your gas moment of the week. Gas being gear acquisition syndrome. What is the thing, Dan, that you saw in the past week that made you go, I don't need it, I can't afford it, but goddamn do I want it?
Well, it's pretty recent. 2 days ago, I received a screenshot or like a picture from a guy called Tom Quayle, who happened to be also our guest on episode number 1. And this certain Mr. Quayle from the UK received a package from the Ibanez Custom Shop in Nagoya. And in this case was a very lovely AZ guitar that is pretty different to all the AZs you've probably seen or played, because it features a nitro finish, a flame maple neck with an ebony fretboard, and it has bare knuckle, I think, Stormy Monday and Mother's Milk pickups. So that thing, I would just grab that and run if Tom would have been like in my proximity. What a lovely guitar. Did you see the pictures?
I have my eyes closed right now, remembering when I first saw that guitar. And even without knowing the specs, I was like, that's a mighty fine piece of wood right there. And no, the thing that grabbed me straight away, and also on a side note, we should develop some kind of drinking game for every time that Dan says Ibanez. But cheers. So that's one, go grab yourself a drink. I have an AZ, and the one that Tom has a slightly different looking pickguard, Dan.
You think so?
Yeah, slightly. I mean, the one on mine is I can't say hideous, because the whole guitar is beautiful. But if I could change one thing, and rather quickly, it would be the pearloid white pickguard. And you know that I've asked Ibanez and yourself to maybe make some available, and I know that you've also said that some people are working hard on doing that. But do I have to be Tom Quayle to get a custom pickguard, or what?
Well, he went with tortoise shell. It's a 4-ply pickguard, and it looks amazing. But actually, that was probably the point that was the most controversial. So when I looked at the reactions under the post, there were quite a few people that said, oh, lovely guitar, but what the hell is that pickguard? That's fugly. So, different folks, different strokes. It's probably not for everyone. but Tom definitely has a super cool, super nice instrument, and the reactions that I've received from him are that this is a mental guitar. It must be be playable like butter, and it must sound pretty nice. And I'm super curious to hear what the bare knuckle pickups sound like, because we've had a conversation earlier that I'm a big fan of the bare knuckle pickup, especially the Aftermath. And spoiler alert, I'm currently like having my own like Aftermath pickup with some custom design being made from Tim. Woohoo, yeah. Surprise, surprise. We can talk about that in an episode as soon as I got it, maybe with some sound samples or something like that. But those pickups, they are amazing. The transparency and also the string separation, even at high gain, is amazing. So I'm really curious to hear what the Mother's Milk, the single coils sound like, because if they are just half the quality of what the Aftermath pickup is that we have on the premium guitars, it'll be amazing. And well, we got to see. Keep your eyes peeled. Tom will probably release a full video. He has all those fancy 4K cameras and his setup that will allow for super multi-angled views and super cool sound. So yeah, that will be on YouTube pretty soon, I guess. So Tom, don't disappoint us.
And Tom, if you ever want to get rid of that pick guard, just let me know, because I've got a really nice white one I can swap it for. No,
I'll probably have to inquire for the pick guard.
Yeah, just in case, just in case anyone's wondering, I am genuinely pushing for a new pick guard to the point where I might actually attempt to make one myself or pay someone to make one for me. But honestly, maybe it doesn't. I mean, that's a whole subject on its own, really. Like the looks of a guitar, and we buy and hear with our eyes, as we've said, and many people have said before. But I think that having a different pick guard on it would make me pick it up more. And it is my go-to guitar. It is my one workhorse guitar that, as I've said before, if I could take one, it would be that one. It does so much for me and it plays so well. However, that pick guard,
All right, now pants down, Andy. What pick guard would you choose? Like, what would your preferred visual be like?
I mean, it's the blue, isn't it? It's the TAB, which remind me what that stands for.
Trans Aqua Blue.
Thank you. Just the test. Always got to keep down on his toes. I think on a Trans Aqua Blue, it's just over there, so it's right behind me. Maybe even mint green would be okay. So you're taking the greeny out of the blue, but I'd like to say black.
I think I'm not so sure about the mint green. Black might be interesting.
Black. Yeah? I don't know, but what I will say is that it's like I'm really trying to pick something PC, right? It's something that isn't going to get me in trouble. But it's like having a really, really great car, but there's a little dent in the side, So the dent doesn't really do anything to it, but it's there, and you're like, oh, I wish that dent wasn't there. That's not that's not the best analogy, but I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Yeah. You got your black pickguard. I somehow got to find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, something that doesn't involve a spray can. That would be great.
Might be a little bit smelly long term.
Yeah, well, it's fine. I have kids. Maybe talk about my gas moment of the week.
Yeah, please.
It is one of the most impossible gear acquisition syndromes I've ever encountered.
All right.
It is a 1959 Martin D18E, otherwise known as the Kurt Cobain Nirvana Unplugged in New York acoustic guitar that sold for $6 million.
All right. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot. In fact, it was 6,010,000, I believe. It was slightly over 6 million, but who's 10,000 here or there, it doesn't really matter. We'll call it 6 million. This guitar is responsible. It's one of the guitars responsible for me playing guitar, because Nirvana Live in New York in 1993. 93. Was it 93? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think early 90s. That changed my life, quite literally. Everything about it. I know that record inside and out. It's the record that I saved all my pocket money for, and I looked behind sofas and underneath my grandma and all kinds of places, for loose change, to go and get this album. And then through what I would call unnatural causes, the guitar became available for sale. In that it was given to Kurt's daughter, Frances Bean, and she got married to some bloke, and then they divorced, and he got the guitar in the divorce settlement and then sold it. However, it was bought by the CEO or owner of Rode Microphones.
Oh wow!
Hello, Dan.
So it's in good hands now, right?
It is, yeah. And actually, so it's Peter Friedman that bought it, and he has good intentions for the guitar. He's going to use it to, and I'm paraphrasing, to spread the good word of music and spread the love of guitars and spread positive stuff about music and show people rather than just lock it away in some glass cabinet somewhere. And then he's going to sell the guitar and put that money towards also promoting music and the future of musicianship. So
Wow.
yeah, it's. I'm glad that it's gone to this guy. I mean, he went for 6 million and 10,000, and I couldn't stretch that extra 10. So I'm happy he got it. I mean, I wasn't very happy on the day, but right now, I'm pretty happy that he got it because he's going to be doing good stuff to it. Performing arts donations, all that sort of good things that people talk about doing but don't generally do. He's going to do it, and this guitar is going to help him. And then he's going to sell it, which means I have a few years to make either less or more than $6 million.
Oh, I'm so seeing a Kickstarter campaign.
Podcast sponsorship. I will wear your crap on my arms. I'll get it tattooed over my body. Anything. Let me know.
Oh wow!
Everybody has.
But
a
question: what would be the first thing you would play on that guitar if you had the chance to pick it up?
The Man Who Sold the World.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously he was a lefty, and I'm not. If I got the guitar, I'd learn to play guitar left-handed. There we go. That's how dedicated I would be if I bought or somehow acquired that guitar.
Ding, ding, ding. I can totally see the Kickstarter campaign, adding up money.
I reckon we get I could probably get some sort of Squire or Harley Benton with the money from a week's worth of Kickstarter.
There you go.
It's just iconic, man. It's iconic. And it's so unusual for Nirvana to have done an acoustic session, even though it was fitted with, was it Bartonelli pickups? He says, scrolling.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Yeah, so even though Nirvana did an unplugged session, it was with 2 pickups, and he did use, I think, like a Silverface amp behind him.
All right.
But yeah, I should have done my research, really.
Has any company tried to do some sort of reissue of that particular guitar, because it's so iconic, and I can see that there's a big fan base of people that would like really want to have like a replica of that particular guitar.
Well, it was retrofitted with these pickups, so it was a Martin D18, and then I think that if there was a time at which Martin could issue a signature model, this would be it. So now that guitar's been in the headlines and in the guitar world. They've probably missed it because you and I both know how the guitar world works. If they're going to sell it, then this needs to have been planned a year ago at least. Mm-hmm. But, there could have been some kind of campaign like, you don't have $6 million, $10,000, then here's one for just $10,000.
There you go.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if it would sell. The thing is, it would probably be quite easy to recreate yourself,
Yeah. Somewhat, yeah.
And there are varying degrees of easy. It's not necessarily easy, but I don't know anything about Bartoloni pickups, but they look odd, and it has that odd look. But I'd want a left-handed guitar strung right-handed, so it's upside down, for a righty.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They'd have to do it properly. They'd have to cater for the look. And you'd need a dirty cardigan with it as well.
I always found it strange when they reissued or released Jimi Hendrix signature guitars for right-handed players, and they used lefty guitars that been just flipped around. That just looked wrong to me, to be honest.
I like it. I think I'm quite a fan of the Fender Hendrix one where even the pickup is around the wrong way. So it's a right-handed guitar with a reversed headstock, but the body is still correct.
No, there are also some where the body is also like flipped around.
Yeah, that's the ones I'd want. But the only ones I've played have been the ones that are right-handed Strats, but with the angle of the pickup angled the opposite way, as it were, and the reversed headstock. Quite a nice guitar, I might add, whilst we're on the subject. But yeah, you should do it properly. You should just take a lefty and make it a righty.
There you go.
So yeah, that was my gear of the week.
Yeah, and since you didn't have a chance on picking up that guitar because you were short 10K, what else did you pick up lately?
Okay, I have a section for "Do Not Tell My Wife."
All right.
So, as you know, dear listeners, we're trying to, spruce up the podcast a bit. And rather than say, this is the gear that I got this week, the segment is quite obviously called Don't Tell My Wife. However, I don't know if it counts because she knows, because I haven't shut up about this new guitar that I have. This new guitar that I have is right next to me, and I'm going to show Dan. It is a Maybach. Albatross 65-2, meaning that it's an SG for all wants of it is an SG with 2 humbucking pickups in antique aged white, and it is glorious. It has a sort of not a 50s neck, but a rounded neck, as Gibson would call it. So it's not the 60s slim taper slim rubbish, because that's rubbish, and this one's got a good handful. So it's a really thick neck, but not... No, that's not true. It's not a thick neck. It's somewhere in the middle, but it's on the side of being thick. And it is so light, which does my back injury wonders. The pickups in this...
What a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, it turned up at the right time. So I have the Maybach Leicester also, which is the Les Paul of Maybach. And that has the same pickups in it, which are the Spirit of 59 pickups from Maybach. And I'm not that pleased with them in the Leicester. They don't jump out at me. They don't sing. They're good pickups. They're not like you've bought like something cheap. But next to my Gibson R8, you can really hear those custom buckers, and you can really think, oh yeah, there's something. That little extra percentage you're getting from a custom bucker isn't in the Leicester. But those same pickups in this Albatross, my goodness, the thing is rocking unplugged. I played it unplugged for quite a while. And then plugged it in, and it just rocks. And I put it through a Plexi style amp, and it is rock, I put it through a Marshall Studio Vintage, and you can just play one of those large open A chords, and it's got this clarity, but it's not aggression, because that the SG guitars are quite punchy, quite mid-heavy, and they don't have that thickness of a Les Paul. Mm-hmm. They're kind of like the angry little brother, So they're kind of they're angry, but this one isn't angry. It's quietly confident. Like, it doesn't threaten to kick your ass. It knows it can, but just doesn't. It just lets you know it. And then stick it on the neck pickup, and you've got this lovely, smooth, bluesy, wondrous, sort of almost, I can't say jazzy, but it's got this roundedness to it. And the whole guitar just blew my mind. I am so happy. Cool. It's gone straight to number 1 of my list of... it's my new number 1, I think.
Awesome. And dear listeners, I'm so sorry that you can only hear us, but you can see us, because Andy's smiling, and that smile goes just like from one side of the screen to the other side of the screen. And he's just smiling all the time when he talks about that guitar. And that's awesome.
I obviously have to review the guitar, and I've done an unboxing video in which I think I apologize for saying how good it is about 10 times. I'm so sorry. I know I've said how good it is over 10 times. But I don't know if it's any good for anybody else. But it's my desires personally for guitar are quite narrow-minded in the sense that I can appreciate a great guitar. It doesn't have to be a big thick neck. It doesn't have to be humbuckers. I can appreciate a really well-made neck, really well-made guitar. Necks. It's all about necks for me. But so that's the guitar geek, the guy that does the job of reviewing guitars and giving opinions. But as a guitarist, take away all the jobness to it, as a guy that just enjoys playing guitar, this thing has changed my life. It's beautiful. I don't know. I feel honored to be in its presence. It's so good, Dan, that the reason we haven't recorded a podcast also recently is my internet has been down because when we have a storm, the internet doesn't work for some reason because I pay for cheap internet. And it was down, and I received the guitar, I recorded the video, and I thought, I have to tell the guys at Maybach how much I love this guitar. So I got in my car and I drove for 10 minutes until my phone had a reception, and I sent them a voice message on Instagram. I was like, I'm out of my car. I don't know where I am, but now my phone works. This guitar is brilliant. I love it. So, yeah.
Have you been at the guys from Maybach?
Have I what, sorry?
Have you been at the Maybach guys?
No, we've met various times through, guitar summits and shows and things.
All right.
But I've never actually been there. I know it's not far geographically from where I am. One day, but I'm worried that they might, I might leave with something else and a hole in my pocket.
I think they're located quite close to where Meinl and Ibanez headquarters is, and also quite close to where Thomann is.
Yeah.
So it's not too far away. And they have the plaque machine there, so you can bring your guitar and have a plaque too.
Oh, and the setup was glorious.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite right. The truss rod had sort of gone too tight in travel, but I played with it a little bit. As you can probably tell, I quite like it a lot.
And the big smile again. That is lovely. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing those videos.
Yeah, I hope you can put up with me smiling and apologizing for 20 minutes and playing an A chord, and that's it. Like, oh, listen to that.
Yeah, but that's basically what you would play if you pick up that guitar, right? Like the open A moves and yeah.
And it does other things, but it needs to do that. If it doesn't do that, then it's not a good SG style guitar.
Yeah. That's
all right,
sure.
so I'm done. My beast is out of me. I can relax and I'll continue smiling. But we're currently talking on your wife's phone because of technical issues.
Yeah,
What didn't you tell your wife about this week? Is there anything?
Well, nothing in particular that I bought this week, but I recently just put in the order for my Pia and Envy Green.
Did you get a good price?
Yeah, you can guess. I did, no, but I love that guitar. Actually, I was surprised when I saw the Pias because, sometimes product images from Ibanez guitars do not really represent how good they look like in real life. And that was true for the Sundew Gold variant of the Pia and also for the white one. And, I just love all the colors. But basically my heart is still with the original Loch Ness Green. So I went with Envy Green with that too. And I also like the Tree of Life inlay, or Pia Blossom inlay, how they call it now, that has the various colors, like the turquoise and the pink and the green. Yeah.
I remember. So I'm thinking back to Nam now. That's the one that I was drawn to.
Yes. So and there will be we're getting, I don't know, like 40, 45 pieces of that, I guess. So very limited, and my.
And what kind of delivery time are we looking for? Do you expect?
Actually, that guitars, all of these guitars, they have been made in subsequently. They started with the regular production model, the white one. Then we had the Sundew Gold one. That's basically incoming, I guess, next week.
Right.
And then I think September, October, there will be the Panther Pink and the Envy Green one. And I'm desperately looking forward. So that would be like a Christmas present or something to me. Yeah.
I'm so pleased for you. I know how much those guitars mean to you and how much Steve means to you. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so looking forward to playing that guitar. And like, actually, I never was a big gem owner. Like, I have that the purple multicolor gem, and I have a 7-string Universe. But that will be my first regular kind of gem that I bought. I played a lot of those, but I've never really sticked with them.
Like you said, I'm not really a gem person, but I have two.
Well, that's the thing. You always, you admire those guitars and you play them, and I have a lot of friends that own them, and occasionally I owned one, but then I passed it on because it didn't really 100% gravitate or resonate with me. And then it's just, guitars are so subjective, and like I said, if you have that kind of feeling in your stomach, that kind of home frequency,
yes,
the guitar either has that or it doesn't have it. And I'm really strict with guitars. I don't want to have case queen, so I either play it or I sell it at a point. So yeah, and that's a reason why I only stuck with a handful. Yeah,
you have big hands though, so it's okay. Actually, I learned that from you, Dan, is not to keep case queens, and being lucky enough to work with guitars and have guitars in my house that are part of my job. So therefore, they're not just instruments that I like. Some of them are here for business reasons. It's really important to me to make sure they get used and played. And if there is something that I've bought that I don't use, then it does get moved on. And I like the term to move them on rather than sell them. And I'm not very good at selling them because I just, I want to make sure they go to the right person rather than the best price.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
That's
That's going to have to change. Things are going to change, right?
No. I'm totally with you. I'm pretty much the same. If I have a bad feeling about a possible seller or potential seller, I'll probably just move on and wait for the right one. So quite often I've sold the guitar under what I would have gotten probably by selling it on eBay, just because it was the right person that was asking for it. And it's just give and take. I had the opportunity to buy a lot of guitars at decent prices from collectors and friends and colleagues, and so it's give and take to some degree.
I think I might be growing up.
Yeah.
I think it might be happening. I think you're in the same kind of boat.
Yeah, it happens. I think they say if men get older than 12, they just grow, but they don't mature. But
yeah, I'd agree with that. I was quite mature as a teenager, and then somehow went back and regressed. I realized how great it was to be 12. Okay, we'll go back there. That was fun.
Where are my toys?
Yeah, well, they're right next to me. There's my Maybach there. Hello.
Woohoo. There's my Lego. Woohoo.
Oh man,
we digress. Where should we go on? Actually, we had a question of the week from a guy called Matthias.
Oh, great. I don't know what the question is, everybody, so I'm excited to be planned spontaneous.
And he asked about signature guitars in general. And his question was, as a musician, how do you have to be in order to be considered a signature artist from a brand?
So you're an artist, and how do you become a signature? So how do you get a signature guitar? That's a really long way of asking that question. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, he was asking not just how do you get a signature guitar, because then it's like there's a technical term how you do that, or a business term how you do that. But he wanted more to know what are the prerequisites of what, as an artist, what are the boxes that you need to check in order to be even considered a signature artist from a company. And I found it an interesting question because, like I said, from a business perspective, you could just answer that in like one sentence or two sentences.
What would those two sentences be?
Well, you need maybe just 3 bullet points. You need a lot of talent, some kind of musical innovativeness, a huge following, and in brackets, a little bit of luck. Or maybe a big chunk of luck, I don't know. But I guess now, especially nowadays, it goes much deeper.
Sure.
Much deeper, yeah.
You mean like in the internet age?
Absolutely, because we have seen signature guitars for YouTubers.
Yeah.
We've seen signature guitars for bands like Polyphia or Chon that were rather unknown in like the majority in the world, but they were internet phenomenons, and they had a digital following that was maybe 95% like, what's it called, the e-boys.
Yeah.
E-boys, like the post-millennial generation. And so it's quite contrary, because this is not like the prototypical following. It's not the guys that go into the stores and read the magazines and stuff like that. So I think it has changed, and it's much more diverse, and also maybe a little bit more complex. But of course, there's always a business aspect. If there's a demand in the market, and if there is a following of potential buyers of that instrument from wherever they come, that will of course increase your chances of having a signature guitar with a company. But I would never underestimate also the fact that as a person, not the artist, but also as a person, you get a fit with the company.
Sure. I mean, if you're looking, if I may, if you're looking for just a signature guitar and you're writing letters or emails or whatever to 10 different companies, that has to be not the way to do it.
Nope, not at all.
The way to do it is to focus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's if you apply for a job, you gotta know the company. Maybe you have a shared history or something that contributes to you being more, let's say, associated or more into the overall field and the company itself. So it really comes down to, is it a good fit for the company, and not just the business fit, also a fit in terms of your personality. Does it add something to the image of the company? Does it add something to the image of the brand, to the image of the product? And like I said, like a huge following is one side, but there are so many like kind of small or rather unknown bands that are unique in terms of how they play. And we've seen some super interesting examples, like do you know Manuel Gardner Fernandez?
I do not.
No, he's one of those kind of Instagram stars, and he's got in his band he's playing in the band Unprocessed, and this band has also a bass player called David Levy, and he's an amazing bass player. I hadn't even heard about him. Actually, the Japanese guy, they turned my attention to him, and so we talked, and we sent him one of the headless basses of the new headless basses from our 2020 lineup, and he's just killing it on those basses. It's a super progressive design, and he's one of those super progressive, very percussive playing bass players, and it's just a perfect fit. And his persona is great. He's a young guy. He's super enthusiastic about making music, and he really wants to make it as an artist. So he's probably one of those kind of guys that potentially at some point could be considered a signature artist, if they grow their career and really find some new ways on promoting themselves, that he's got the potential to become a signature artist at a certain point.
Yeah, they're also like I can think of, I own, how many signature guitars do I own? I own one, and I thought I didn't. I have the Gibson Explorer from Bill Kelleher from Mastodon. And I own it because there were 400 made, and I saw a photo and I fell absolutely in love with it. It's everything an Explorer should be for me. It is a gold burst with gold hardware, and block inlays with a bound neck. And for me, a Gibson Explorer needs to have block inlays. It just looks, because it's such a big guitar, if you have dots on them, which many do, then it looks like it's all out of proportion to me. And I didn't honestly really know anything about Bill Kelleher or Mastodon. And I don't play that sort of music, or rather I didn't. And then I got this guitar, and of course I did some research. I thought, whose guitar am I playing? And then that got me into Mastodon. So I went sort of the backwards way, rather than, oh my God, that's my Guitar Hero's signature guitar. Yeah. He since left Gibson, and I think he's with ESP at the moment, because he wanted something that the Big G wouldn't give him. I think they weren't delivering it in his tuning with his strings on it, which benefits someone like me because I'm not in his tuning with his strings on it. But I think he quite rightly said that it's my signature guitar, so it should come as if it were for me. And I found that really interesting. That at what point is it just a name stuck on a guitar, and at what point is it truly that guitar designed by that artist? You know, and I mean, it's interesting to know that there are often financial reasons a guitar can't be exactly what the artists make, and there has to be compromises. So of course, if you want a signature guitar, you want it to be all the things you want it to be. However, if that suddenly puts it out of the market via price, like you have to have Seymour Duncans or you have to have Hipshot tuners, but that suddenly puts it at the price achievability of your core audience, then you're not going to sell any. So it's a give and take, as you said. And I find it really interesting how how deep artists go into not even making second choices, but saying, okay, it needs to have this, this, and this for sure, but we can talk about the rest of the components. And I think one of the most interesting signature guitars is the Epiphone RD from Lee Malia from Bring Me the Horizon.
Natural. That's a nice one, yeah.
But it's interesting to me, Dan, because I don't know who Lee Malia is. And I've heard of his band, but I had no idea he would be in a position to have a signature guitar. But loads of people were crying out for Epiphone or Gibson to redo the RD. I think it's a beautiful guitar. It's so quirky and so odd, and I can see why they don't do them as a regular thing. But then to make it a signature for someone like Lee Malia, who, in my opinion, was not in the position to have a signature because I didn't know who he was. But obviously he sold that guitar, or they sold that guitar to Bring Me the Horizon fans and people who thought that guitar looks cool. So it's a really odd world, isn't it? You have to... Your product, your artistry, your position in your group of musicians, your fame, I guess, for want of a better word, has to be at a certain level that... I think that was one of my cameras decided that it didn't want to accidentally be recording anymore. Okay, so there's a camera somewhere that's been recording us for the past hour. Yeah, so I think the simple way to put it, as you said at the beginning, is it has to be a mutually beneficial agreement. But I think there are three parties. I think there's the guitar brand, the artist, and the fans. Yep. And you have to please all of those three. Maybe there's four, but I can't think of another one right now. But for me, that's the three things. And if one of them doesn't get what they want, then it's not going to be a successful signature guitar.
That's a good point, because also like you said, there usually companies approach artists about signature guitars, but nowadays, you know, with the strength and the importance of social media and the internet, it happens quite often that people request a signature guitar for an artist, and they you know, pitch that idea to the companies, and then they probably consider that because they see that there is some certain sales potential, and then the artist is a good fit with the company. That makes things a lot easier. So it's like turning that upside down to some degree.
Yeah, it's also often, I'm trying to think of more signature models. Like, I keep going back to Gibson and Epiphone, but there's obviously the John Mayer thing where he was with Fender and went to PRS for whatever reason it was, but who knows? I'm quite a big fan of the Silver Sky. I'm more of a fan of the Strat that he had. There's just so much. One of the guys that I really respect is Gary Clark Jr., the blues player, because he still plays Epiphones. So he has an Epiphone Casino. He has a Gibson SG signature as well, but he's very well known for playing Epiphone Casinos. And he said, I play the guitars because people are inspired by the playing and they want to own the guitar that I play in the signature model, but they're not going to be able to afford a $3,000, $4,000 Gibson model. So we're sticking with Epiphone. It's the Casino. It does everything I need, and I play it on stage. And that makes such a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the first time I recognized that was when, it's like 15 years ago, when LTD, ESP LTD, they released The Grinch, a signature guitar for James Hetfield.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? And that guitar did only exist in the kind of cheaper LTD version.
Yeah.
And James Hetfield played the LTD version. Yeah. I checked that, and when he played it was always the LTD. It might have been like a custom shop one that just said LTD, but I would not be surprised if he would really stick with the LTD version, because that was just a super cool guitar, and it just fit the price point and the image. It was just perfect at that time.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my room. I have the Fender Jagstang, which is kind of a weird relationship with Kurt Cobain. He apparently designed it. We'll never really know. He only played one, I think, and it's not even that good a guitar. You know, it's pretty it's pretty nasty. But but that guitar sold after he died, and they're such a legendary guitar these days. And they even reissued it in the 2000s, and they're also legendary. And it's just amazing how you can attach an instrument to an artist and it will sell for many, many different reasons. And now, as we're in 2020, as you said, we're in an internet age where we've got people like Aguefish has a Harley Benton signature, Henning Pauly has a Harley Benton signature, and even
how likely was that?
Yeah. And even I had an input on a guitar that was built to my specs and is not a signature guitar, but I helped build that. And with my relatively small, comparing to people like Kurt Cobain and James Hetfield, I know for a fact that Harley Benton sold out straight away. Mm-hmm. And that was just down to the fact that I knew what people wanted, and they contacted me. I was like, well, I had a direct line, and let's make that guitar.
Yep. Absolutely.
I honestly can't take much credit for it, because I just sort of gave an idea and they said yes. I wasn't expecting that.
That's super cool, and it kind of shows how times have changed. And I really occasionally we'll make fun of Henning, but you really got to say hats off for the development of that guitar, because it really pushed the boundaries of quality, and also of how much value can be in a signature guitar in his HP42 Sig. That was pretty rad. And also Aguefish, you mentioned him with his single cut. I think that thing sold out within 2 days. So you see how much of a sales potential and also appeal is there, especially if you have a fan base. And I mean, we're not talking, especially with Hunter Aguefish, we're not talking about 1 million subscribers. He's got a rather small channel compared to the big ones like, I know, Ola England or Music Is Win on those kind of channels. But still, I mean, he's got that loyal following and people that trust what he says with his high integrity and everything. So, and that probably was considered a good fit for the company that released the signature guitar named Harley Benton. And and I think that holds true for the majority of brands. If there's, like you said, that triangle of being an artist or an influencer, of being a company, and of having a following, and if all that falls together and is a good fit, then it's very likely that you will, you could be considered becoming a signature artist. But it's a lot of work, and you need some luck for sure.
I'm not sure have we answered the question. So if I were in a position to want a signature guitar, I mean, my real question here would be was it Matthias?
Matthias, yeah.
Matthias. My first question would be: do you need a signature guitar? What's the motivation there, if that makes sense? So, and I don't want to be rude or disrespectful in any way, but there are luthiers out there that will build you stuff to your exact specs. So there are other options. If you're talking signature guitar from the point of view of, I want a Strat or a Gem or an SG, but it has to have these exact specifications. Firstly, do your research, and maybe there's already one out there that you don't know about. So just as a player, if you're looking at it from a player's point of view and you want something with certain specifications, it might already exist. The other option is to go to a luthier, or it doesn't even have to be a luthier. Maybe it's buying a one off the shelf and changing the pickups or changing the hardware. So look at the body, look at the neck, make sure it's got the bare bones of what you want. And if it's just for the actual having the guitar to play it, then that's a really, really good option. So that's more the custom guitar thing rather than a signature. If you're looking to have a signature, then I would say write some really great songs, practice your guitar, get some great email addresses, go to NAMM, things like that, and persuade people that you're the guy to help push the brands and give your fans what they want. And it sounds simple because it is, but just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy.
That is very right. And also, like you said, it shouldn't be an ego thing. If it's just something to, pat your own ego and satisfy your I know, like personal desire of being in the media and being on a website with the other big names, it's probably not going to work. Whereas if you perceive the guitar as a tool and you need a certain tool with certain specs that's probably a little bit off, a little bit quirky, in order to make the kind of music that you are playing, then it's very likely that that could some point transform into that kind of signature guitar, because then it's a tool for you, and people that want to follow your playing style and want to, play like you, they might pick up an instrument because there's no substitute to that. So Matthias, I hope this will answer the question. I think we've, discussed several aspects of it. We can either talk, 2 minutes about that topic or 90 minutes about that topic. It's super comprehensive, but I hope this gives you a good answer. And if you're still up for a pseudo signature guitar, we've got the Japanese custom shop just open. So if you got 6K spare,
Always working. Always working. Also, Matthias, if you want a guitar, I'll build you one. It'll just cost you a heck of a lot of money because I have to go to luthier school first.
All right. Well, we're pretty far already in this episode. Maybe we should move on to the final segment, which is the iTunes ratings.
You didn't know what you were going to say then when you started talking, did you? That was really funny.
Not at all.
Say some words. Okay, well, dear listener, hey, listen up closely. Have you ever wanted to be on a podcast? Have you ever wanted to be on a guitar podcast? Possibly with someone called Dan and someone called Andy. Well, you can be that person right now. All you have to do is leave us a rating on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, one of those places, because welcome to the final segment of today's podcast, and that is Reader's Reviews. Was that the enthusiastic sort of thing you wanted?
That was amazing. I was I was dying here. That was just straight on perfect.
Good,
yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Checks in the post. So, we are looking for to read out the comments and the reviews of the show. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know, are you having a good time listening? What do you like? What don't you like? Do you want more Dan? Do you want less Dan? Do you want more Andy? Do you want probably less Andy? And it's really confusing with iTunes because depending on which country you're in, depends on where the review is left. So I can go to the German one or the British one or the Australian one, and there are comments everywhere. We currently have one notable comment on the iTunes podcast thing. And we have lots of ratings, Dan. Lots of really positive ratings. 5 stars. But no one's leaving many comments,
Oh, we have one from February of this year. It's by AN3 Guitar Whore. I'm sorry. And this gentleman or just lady, I have no clue, said, well, he or she gave us 5 stars. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, and then he or she wrote, fantastic guitar podcast, highly recommended. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I don't want to disrespect you, but, I'd like some more depth. I'd like to know what was fantastic. I'd like to know why you'd recommend it. If you don't recommend it, I'd love to know why. All those things. What's your favorite part? What's your favorite part? Is it this part right now? Was it the part we did recently? Which guests would you like to hear? Who should come back? All those sorts of things. Give us some depth, people. We're working hard here. It's taken us 5 Skype calls to make this thing happen tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, to me, it boosts my my feelings, basically, if I see the positive reactions, not just with the rating. I mean, the rating is basically what helps us to be more visible and, being shown to more users on iTunes and kind of grow a fan base. But any kind of reaction, either on Instagram or via email or in the user reviews, it's something that just it warms my heart.
Oh, that's nice to know, Dan. Also, for me personally, it means that we can start charging companies money to be on the podcast. I'm all about.
You're
the money,
such a business whore, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it's better to be a business whore than a guitar whore. Oh, I don't know, or am I both? Whatever.
Sassy ass Andy.
Well, I promised you, Dan, something that I would do, and we can reveal, because this is going to be released in a few days. We can reveal that we now have a website that you can get all the information from.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, we don't currently in the recording of this, but I'm making a promise to you, Dan, that by the time this episode goes out on next week, then we will have some kind of link that you can go to, and rather than us say Podbean or Spotify or all that, and you can, where the heck do I hear these guys? You go to one address, and what address is that, Dan?
It's probably,
probably-
Guitar Stories. Oh man, you got me like.
I threw that
I have
on.
no
I threw you
clue.
right under the bus, then, man.
Absolutely, you threw me under the bus.
Is it
actually, you can go to,
guitarstories.net?
or you go to theguitargeek.net/guitar stories. Is that correct?
Maybe.
Yeah, well, guitarstories.net definitely. So if you're interested in checking out like images about what we talked, like about the guitars, Tom Quaid's guitar, or Nirvana's acoustic guitar, or
My
what else
Maybach.
did we discuss? The Maybach. We'll definitely add a couple of high def pictures there as well. Just go to guitarstories.net and then you can go to the episode website. You can leave a comment and like Andy said, just leave us a comment and tell us what you like, what you want to hear, which artists or music industry personalities you want to have on the podcast, and we try our best to make that happen.
And if you are an artist or you just want to be on the podcast, pitch us an idea.
There you go.
I'm always up for that.
Cool. Absolutely. Well, I think that's it for this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a great time. I've had an amazing fun laughing and joking with you, Dan. There's been some guitar chat. There's been joy and smiles across the screen. So I've had a wonderful time. Thank you, mate.
Thank you. And thanks to all the listeners. I hope you had a wonderful time listening to us. Thanks so much, and hope to hear, see, and read you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.